Hey, everybody, welcome to Dental Voice with Xyrus. My
Hey,
name is Rolando Mia, and today we are here for episode 3 of 4 with Dr. Marc Liechtung. Now, Dr. Marc Liechtung does this for a living, and he is incredible. In the first episode, he shared with us financials, real, actual, specific financials about how a practice needs to thrive. In the second episode, he shared with us why and how dental hygiene can be the tip of the spear, but it's not just about dental hygiene, it's about other aspects in practice. And the impact of an effective dental hygiene program is in building a successful practice. Today, what Dr. Marc is going to share with us is his insight into what the key procedures are that you need to be doing. Dr. Marc Liechtung, first of all, thank you so much for joining. It is an absolute pleasure. As usual, you are looking awesome.
oh, thank you so much. Thank you, my friend. I got to tell you, the last few weeks, I feel like I've been living with you. It's been a little tired.
Don't tell anybody that. So
I don't tell anybody, but you're not bad. I like it. It's good. You certainly don't spend too much on your hair, so it's good. I like it. I like what I live with. So we got an exciting show today, Ro. This is should be in everybody's sweet spot. So lots to talk about.
I love that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. As we evolve in this third episode of 4, you're talking about specific procedures. Help us understand the context around that, because dentists go to dental school and become very, very efficient in what I'm going to call traditional procedures, crown and bridge, fillings. What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that. And people have made a very good living and a very nice practice and a great legacy on doing what we call fundamental dentistry. You learn how to do fillings, a bonding, you take some courses and do some veneers. Crown and bridge is really good. My margins are great. But to me, there is dentistry. I'm going to make the analogy of golf. For those of you that are out there, golf has 14 clubs in a bag. It takes time to be proficient. Not that I am, but it takes time for somebody to be proficient in all 14 clubs. Dentistry has so much to offer. You want to be fundamental, you're going to play with 3 or 4 clubs in your bag. You want to be exceptional, you want to be well-rounded, and you want to be productive, and what I call the complete provider. You've got to take it upon yourself to continue to learn and leave the fundamentals to the fundamentals.
Oh, I like that. You need to understand all the clubs, everything in your bag. So what does that look like? Share that with us.
To me, I always believed, and this is where I created the product, the Snap-on, and I enjoy the mentorship, is that we are general dentists. That doesn't mean we are a referral source. We are general dentists, which means, to me, years ago, perio and other specialties were the kings. But now it's all about the GP. Someone walks in my door and needs a procedure. There aren't many things that I can't do, or my associates who are mentored by us can't do when that patient needs treatment. Not because of the money. It's because of the quality that we believe we're delivering.
So it's not just about the specialist. It's about a GP being able to do that. Help us understand what's kind of the model.
Well, let's say somebody comes in with a root that's snapped off at the gum line. There are about 65% of general dentists today, or maybe even more, that will say, whoops, it's a root tip. I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to send it to my buddy up the block. But then that other percentage that goes beyond the fundamentals, they'll trough it, elevate it, pop it out, and put into the socket a membrane and bone, or socket preservation, which builds up the socket so we can put an implant. That is standard of care. That takes a GP about a half hour to do, maybe 40 minutes if it's a tough root. And the patient doesn't have to move out of my practice. So I've taken care of the problem. I've produced more than I would have sending the patient out, and I've been satisfactory to the patient. They were ecstatic because they were able to handle the problem right then and there.
So you mentioned to me before that there are 5 key things. What are those? What are you looking at?
Right. So I really truly broke this down. Over the years, I want to just be transparent. I've never done a number of these, but I was blessed to have specialists in my practice, and I fed them. And if I could go back and practice the way I know now, then I would have been proficient in every single one. And that is something I don't want. Don't do what I did, do what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is, through 30 years of experience, the 5 things that we're going to talk about, and we're going to term it, what we're going to term it is, well, we have to do extraction and bone grafts. We have to do clear aligners today. Invisalign, Clear Correct, pick your choice, right? We have to do crown and bridge and cosmetics, root canal therapy, and in my opinion, to start, single tooth implant placement is today the fastest growing single procedure in the field for the last 5 years, and it's still growing. Those are the 5 things that make, in my opinion, a complete provider. And we'll get into why I think that.
And what do you call that?
I call that the HMSA. And the HMSA, for those of you that don't know, is something that's worn, and there it is. It's the hand that you see some people from either Egyptian descent, Lebanese descent, Israeli or Jewish descent. It's sort of it's made to be the lifeline of the body, the lifeline of the soul. And it's the hand that has so many things, touch and feel and senses, that brings life and sustenance to the body. I believe these 5 procedures brings life and sustenance to create the complete provider. That's how I was raised at University of Pennsylvania in my fellowship, as being what we called then a super generalist. I think that's taken too much liberty. I think it's the complete provider.
I love it. I love it. All right. So the HMSA, 5 procedures, I'm very interested to understand each one. So take us through why each one is so important.
So we just touched on the surgical procedure, right? And the fact is that if somebody walks into your office needing an extraction, and let's say you're, from Main Street, USA to Fifth Avenue, USA, or Rodeo Drive, USA, wherever you practice, the high of the highs or the middle of the roads, somebody walks into your office and has a broken tooth. To ask them to go to an emergency, they're going to see you in 3-4 hours, the hardship there. But if it's not, I am not talking about ones that are wrapped around the nerve. I am not talking about ones that are poked into the sinus that you're concerned, or some medical condition. I am talking about 85 to 90% of the patients, if not more, that walk through our office. We should be able to take out roots and teeth and learn how to bone graft. That is such a rewarding procedure when somebody walks in with an abscess or dental pain or exposed nerve and needs to have it decay underneath the bone. By learning the procedures that we learned in dental school and then learning it on some of the continuing ed courses, or we'll get into what the groups are doing today, it is such a rewarding procedure and should be done by, in my opinion, every general dentist in the country.
So bone grafting and
membrane if needed.
Yeah, membrane and circle.
Extractions. And just to give you an idea, let's just touch base on that for one quick second. That patient that walked in, if we're talking about numbers for one quick second on that procedure, that patient would leave, spend $85 on an x-ray and go out of your office, right? Even if you did the implant, the surgeon up the block that's taking it out, even if you had somebody who came into your office once a month to put in implants, that patient is going to be asked at that office, if I'm putting in the membrane and I'm putting in the bone graft, maybe we'll do an immediate today, Mary. And that patient is going to say, doctor, he sent me to you. You must be excellent. Sure, I'd love to do an immediate now. So that practice, I know we're not in it just for the money, but that practice just lost a tremendous amount of revenue, give or take $4,000 or $5,000. And what they could have done is taking a 4-hour course and learn how to do this. And then through the time, we'll talk about implant placement. But for the general dentists that are doing that, they don't have that vacant space. They don't have that referral source. They have the means and the knowledge to be that complete provider that allows their practice to flourish.
That is so cool. What's the second thing here? Let me see.
Today it's really amazing. There are some general dentists and practices that base their whole practice on Invisalign, on ClearCorrect. Every patient, whether it be perio needs, restorative needs, cosmetic needs, you need Invisalign. I think Invisalign is the easiest procedure to get trained. These companies are there to give you knowledge. They have tremendous learning and teaching abilities. They have courses, they have academies, they have mentorship. We at Guardian have a tremendous array of continuing education, mentorship, externship, internships. We teach up, get the doctors, and we really base it around clear aligners. I met an orthodontist recently in an area, and he told me he is 90% Invisalign. He got away from the braces and the brackets. So there's always going to be a need of a patient that's just too extensive, cross bites, class 3s, that you may have to punt and refer. But for the 95% patients, adults that walk through our doors, to learn how to do Invisalign is an unbelievable profit center and a great reward to the practice.
Cool. All right. So keep going. So, so far we're
going to get into some numbers soon, but root canal therapy to me is the biggest bugaboo. I have found that through the last 10 years, dentists are packing up when they see a root canal and running away. I mean, it's unbelievable. I'll ask future candidates, I'll ask doctors that are coming in, do you do root canals? And go, well, I worked in a practice that somebody do it. Well, aren't you able to do it? With today's advent of the rotary and different companies, whether it be Brasler, whether it be all the different endo companies that are doing a rotary endo, and they have such an array of courses. We gave a course for rotary endo, and it was just sucked up and loved, and people went back and started to do root canals. I think there's a tremendous, and I believe this, a tremendous aspect of treatment planning around root canal therapy that almost to me, it would be mandatory for doctors that work in our practices to do root canal therapy. And I'm going to add one little tidbit. Root canal therapy has no lab fee. And we'll get into that for a little bit.
Cool. Holy cow.
Crown and bridge, full mouth rehab, and I'll put cosmetics in there. Our job is to learn that bag, that proverbial bag that we talked about, the golf bag, the 14 clubs. Well, look at all these clubs that I'm talking about. We have 5 big clubs right now. And crown and bridge and cosmetics is the number one aspect for a general dentist. Be proficient in cosmetics. You're not proficient when you come out of school. You've taken courses. You've looked at different materials, and you've become expert. You're an expert in that. So I think that is incredibly important, especially with the all-on-4s, fix on 6 or 8. There's so many futuristic type of procedures coming down that are going to change the practice. It is imperative that anybody out of dental school today, please get trained. You can get trained on either your practice's dime, the group's dime, or just take some Friday courses and learn how to do better crown and bridge. Those margins need to be airtight. And the cosmetics, there's never an excuse not to be perfect.
Yeah. Cool. And then what's this last one?
I've seen through my career that implants have become so, I gotta say, gentrified in a sense that it's kind of crazy. But years ago, I remember David is getting an implant next visit. We put him on antibiotics. We put him on anti-inflammatories. We had him soak and rinse and press and this. Today, if you have an opening in your office, get an implant in, zip, we're putting it in. Now, it's obviously more difficult, but with guided implants, with CAT scans, with the different companies that are guiding you how to place implants properly and teaching doctors from an externship of initiating how to place implants to placing GPs. I have an associate of mine that was fantastic, put in hundreds of implants. We sent him on an extensive course with 9 other docs in the Guardian group to Brazil for an all expense paid 5-day of learning how to do ridge augmentations, placement of all on 4s, and then they could do the restorative. It is unbelievable. And to watch these general dentists understand the placement for the restorative aspect, it's just a win-win for everybody. So those are the 5 things that I think are the most imperative things to practice and call yourself a complete provider.
I love that.
Expressions.
Yeah.
Go ahead. And
No,
if you look, just like the Hamsa is supposed to mean, it brings you all in to be that complete provider for treatment planning, for case acceptance, and for then case production, to get the case done so you're satisfied. It brings a tremendous amount of joy when a doctor has 4 extractions, 3 implants, and it's a wonderful day. And it's really a procedures that take these doctors to another level.
I love it. So if I get this, help me just to make sure I get it. It's
Yep.
not necessarily being the expert in everything. It's about being able to perform the procedures in surgical implant, bone grafting and extractions, in introducing and offering ortho and Invisalign, in being able to do, pretty straightforward root canal as opposed to referring out, and then being an expert crown and bridge, and then single implants. When you talk about that, it's not necessarily you, but either you or someone in your practice. Is that correct?
Correct. Our job as GPs and as dentists on the whole is to do, in my opinion, treatment plan 4 ways and present cases in 4 ways. So first of all, I'm going to address what you said about the care to the standard of excellence in this. There is something called the standard of care. Everybody is held to the standard of care. But if you're telling me my root canal goes to the apex, looks completely tapered and is tight, I'll beg to differ that it's not better, not as good as somebody who does it only as an endodontist. Obviously, they may use a microscope, they could see things better, but
Right.
if my root canal lasts 30, 40, 50 years, then why isn't it as good as anyone else? I think that's the case with everything else. We must maintain excellence and the strive for quality care in everything we do. If someone turns to me and says, Doc, I'm just not good at root canal, I'll say, how are you good at extracting teeth, crown and bridge, veneers, and implant placement, and you can't do a root canal? So I don't have that. Once people get started, they don't stop. They want to suck in the knowledge to do more and more and more, and it is the next step in dentistry. And I'm going to say it again. It's because the companies that support dentistry, the big companies, the ones we all know, are understanding that the gatekeepers and the education that needs to be focused is on the GPs. We could train them to be the front line of all these procedures.
That is so cool. So I am especially interested now to understand the financial impact of either doing or not doing these. Could you share examples of 2 similar practices, one doing this and one not? And just to kind of frame for our viewers what that does to the growth, the profitability, the production in your practice. Take us through an example.
Well, let me take one example on one thing and then go to the practice level. Let's take extractions, something we all learn to do. Some of us really enjoy it. If you're doing 20 to 25 extractions in your practice a month, that's about 5 a week. It's not a lot, right? Not a lot. Some of us do it 10, 15 a day, chucking 4 or 5 teeth in a patient. But let's say you do 20. So to give you an idea, you're not extracting teeth and you're not bone grafting. Together, that could be in a moderate middle of the road to the high, could be a $700, $800, maybe a $900 procedure. But you're letting that go. That's $250,000 a year. Think about it. It's 20 to 25,000 a month, because at $900 per, and 20 to 25 is almost 20 to 25,000. Times that by 12. That's between $250,000 and almost $300,000 a year if you took the course on how to bone graft. Now magnify that. Let's take it to the practice level. We refer out. I'm Dr. Smith, me and my associate, we do crown and bridge, we do restorative. We are restorative guys. Okay, great. We refer out about 15 implants a month.
Right.
We refer out a good 15 to 20 root canals a month, a good 20 to 25 extractions a month. We do Invisalign and crown and bridge. We are efficient. Now, let's say that's magnified. Let's say crown and bridge, I'm sorry, root canals, implants, and extraction bone grafts lead to something between $700,000 to $900,000 a year.
Wow.
I just showed you root canals. Implants are more money, right? It's $3,000, $2,000, $3,000. That's $30,000 to $45,000 a month. That's $500,000 a year. The numbers get crazy. And all I'm saying to doctors is, don't go to school for years. Take a course. Get a mentor. If you're young and you want to take on the world like I did at that time, my only regret was I didn't learn because I had specialists. But if I became proficient, I'm going to say something else that I find. The money aspect is better when you're doing your own root canals, when your own extractions. Because like I said before, with no labs, these are pure profit margins to the practice. When you refer out a number 11 or a number 9 or a number 29 or even 30s, you are referring out pure profit, pure what I call EBDITA, because it's percentage to the doctor and then it drops down to the bottom line. So the money aspect is the difference between a practice sending it out, but there's another component with it in, and I'm going to get into those weeds. I'm a doctor who has some specialists, right, Ro? And
right.
If I refer to my specialist to do a single tooth implant, it's, let's say, $3,500. I pay my doctor $1,700 for the implant. Maybe a little cost out of there. He receives maybe $1,500, $1,600. If I have my associate do it, or I do it, we're paying them 30 to 35%. And if it's the same implant going in from a number standpoint, paying to have my associate educated, as long as they give me a commitment for staying power and working in the practice, is worth every penny, because I save so much money. So many different nuances that we as business owners, entrepreneurs, and clinicians need to look at in a given procedure and day.
I love the context around establishing that and highlighting it, because the mindset is, if I'm doing the traditional, I'm just going to get traditional results. Now, I hear very clearly the complex cases, the really difficult things, don't tackle those. That doesn't make sense. That's where you get in trouble. But the other ones are definitely feasible for a general practitioner. The other thing too is when you're sharing that, referring out and you look at the numbers in a practice, upwards of $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 can be added to the kind of the bottom line. And to your point, getting that, it's a much higher margin production stream, as opposed to one where you're having to expend money for restoration, that type of stuff, right?
Correct. And the revenue stream, give you an example. And I talked about it, I may have touched on it with you before, but we have we touched last week on the robust hygiene program.
Right.
We have a robust hygiene program. I got a call from my front desk, Dr. Liechtung, 2:00 just canceled. They were not feeling well. I have an open hour. We're a practice. We don't double book and triple book, not wantingly. So I go into hygiene and I walk in and my hygienist says to me, We talk about hygiene. We're going to put it all together next week, which is going to be great because this is what I'm talking about, putting it all together. But let's say the hygienist, man, Pat says to me, doctor, yes, Pat, this patient was scheduled to do an implant and they haven't done it. I said, well, that's great. Let's try to remind them because I have an open hour. I walk in and my hygienist already told them that, your bone seems healed. It looks great. We don't want the teeth to collapse into the space. Remember, we're using words and phrases, which is another time, another podcast.
That people understand.
We want to learn how to really sell dentistry. But my hygienists are trained. They got her going. I walk in and I say, listen, those teeth are starting to migrate in. We want to get that tooth in. And she turns to me and the patient says, Doc, when can we do it? And I say, you know what? Why don't we do it now? Why don't we just get you into the room and do it today? You're here. I have an opening. It's very rare. Let's do it. That patient turns to me and goes, doctor, I'd love to. We talked about the $5,000 procedure, right? That patient just walked into my office, got a cleaning, stayed for the hour. I placed an implant, right? I did a procedure that she's wanting to do for a couple of years. We finally had same-day dentistry. And that's something that if I wasn't or didn't have somebody proficient all the time, remember, specialists aren't in GP's office every day. They're in there once a week, once a month, 4 times, whatever it is, twice a week. They may not be there that day. And we have that compulsive patient, meaning we explain to them how important it is. And now they're doing it as opposed to being referred out. And now take every procedure in the Hamsa and go through it. Root canal, extractions, implants, getting started with Invisalign on their patient to go see the hygienist. This is the key to the future of dentistry and the production and the growth of individual practices.
Oh, wow. There you go. Boom.
What I feel.
No, I love it. I love it. And what's so incredible is you've done this numerous times, and I love the context around it. It's definitely eye-opening to hear that, there are going to be certain circumstances where you can't do this, but a lot of times you can, and that's what's important. I love the sharing. I love the context around it, and then also tying it back to the departments you have, and then monitoring your metrics, understanding the profitability of different things, understanding what your production looks like, and not guessing. And those are all huge things. If somebody wanted to reach out to you and spend more time to understand, the Hamsa or any of the other things, what would be the best way?
Just email me, mliechtung@gmail. That's it's on the bottom, mliechtung@gmail.com. Please email me. Love to hear from you. I've heard from so many, and it's kind of exciting to hear the feedback and the requests of things they want to hear. But I will tell you, this is really important. For those of you that aren't embracing it, think about it. For those that you want to, pick up the phone, look at journals. Every month, look at journals. Learn who's teaching what. Find courses. If you're in a group that aren't teaching them, push it. For us at Guardian, it's commonplace. Teach up. Learn from the best and teach to the rest. And that's what our motto is, and that's the biggest thing. And I really thank you for allowing me to really talk about these things, because I do think that we're such a lucky profession that we could do so much in our chairs.
I love it. Well, hey, first of all, again, I really appreciate it. I know that you're a busy, really, really busy person. You're constantly all over the place, definitely in demand.
Like really you. We literally bump into each other at airports, so it's all right.
But it's not, I appreciate you taking the time, sharing real specifics. And hey, folks, if the content that he's sharing is important, reach out to Dr. Liechtung. I've already heard from other people who have talked to him, and they said it was pretty eye-opening, game-changing. So we encourage that. If you like this content, please share. If you have questions about it, please reach out to us. Feel free to reach out to Dr. Liechtung and ask him about questions he has next week. So next week, what Dr. Marc is going to do is take the first 3 episodes: financials, hygiene, the Hamsa, bring it all together. And what he's going to share are the top 3, at least, things not to do if you want a thriving dental practice. So please join us. If you haven't seen the other episodes, take some time to do that. Dr. Liechtung, thank you so much for joining.
Bro,
Really
you make
appreciate
it
it. It's
easy.
I always love the energy and just the passion that you have for doing it. You are a force, a big one, and I think it's awesome. And thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much. You're an amazing friend. You're a great host, and you really are. And I thank Cyrus and you for all this, for the knowledge we can embark for people, because I really think you need to learn it. This is important stuff. If you want to talk about it, please reach out. But I look forward to our next episode, bringing it all together. Ro, I love you. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Hey, likewise. Take care, everybody. Thank you for joining. We'll see you soon.
Take care, everybody. Be well.